Your Trustmark. They've got you covered. Member FDIC. In the studio, it is the one and only, a guy who should have his own national program, the legendary Robert Johnson. Not Junior, but Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson.
Morning, sir. How are you? It's
Good
good
morning.
to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Man, you've been making some news this legislative session.
I'm just working. Just trying to work with everybody.
You moving over to the independent party, or are you staying with the Democrats?
I'm gonna hang with the Democrats. I'm gonna see if we can change some hearts and minds in the party and outside the party.
What do you think would make people switch over from the Republican Party to the Democrat Party the way things are going in this country?
I can't think of anything right now.
Me either.
Look. That's because the people you would need to switch. Whatever's working now is not anything they're interested in. I mean, Democrats are trying to, build this is somebody else's phrase, build back America. We're trying to make sure we have the money for infrastructure, to create jobs and create opportunities to move commerce back and forth. So those are the kind of things that I like to see happen.
Yeah, well, they did happen a few years back under 4 years of a non-Democrat, but we won't even get into that.
That's okay. I mean, there's some things he did good. That's good. Yeah, we want to keep it going.
So, before we run out of time here, I want to make sure the bills that you still have any bills left that are alive in the House?
Yeah, we got a bill for Jackson State Stadium. I got enhanced pay for healthcare workers. And frontline workers, bills like that. Broadband bills still alive, but I mean, they're my bills. But there are also existing bills. I think the speaker and the chairman of Public Utilities have bills along those lines as well.
Tell me a little bit about the Jackson State Stadium, because right now Jackson State's in the news. Saw yesterday, and some of the folks may not have in this audience heard this, but we were also going to have. Coach Prime's going to also have a documentary series, document series that will be. I'm not sure where it's going to be aired, but is it Netflix or regular television, ESPN? I'm not sure, but he's getting a lot of publicity. The guy's done an incredible job, and looking forward to this fall because more to come. But he has brought a lot of attention to the state and to Jackson State.
A lot of attention.
Is it getting closer to reality that? And there are people who want this, not only from Jackson State, for the people who would like to use that land over there to probably scrap that monster. Yeah.
Well, you framed it just right. I mean, the first thing to talk about when we talk about a stadium is that the stadium that exists now is one that the University Medical Center needs that land to expand their facility. They want to do a big cancer center. I think that's really important to the state of Mississippi. But if that's what's going to happen, the other state institution in Jackson State, I think in turn there ought to be a equal swap. If that's the stadium that Jackson State has essentially funded and kept open for the last 25 years, and they need a stadium near their campus, and University Medical Center needs that property. It's worth over $70 or $80 million. I think there ought to be an intergovernmental exchange, and that money that the stadium would generate in terms of value of real estate ought to go to Jackson State to build a stadium.
So, in other words, if the selling price is $70 million, Jackson State ought to have at least $70 million in the stadium, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then they raised and matched. I mean, I've talked to the president. They are on board, fully willing, and doing a great job of raising the money to match through their foundation to build the stadium that they need.
Have your cohorts seen any kind of drawing, any architectural plans?
My cohorts, I don't know.
In the house.
I have. I've seen them. Yeah, I've seen site selection, and I've seen site proposals, and I've seen some proposals on how the stadium ought to be built. I mean,
what are you asking the taxpayers for?
Well, I'm asking the state of Mississippi for $40 million to start, and the stadium will cost close to $200 million. This is just to help Jackson State get going.
Is it covered?
It'll be covered by the money they raise. Yeah. No, it won't be covered. No, it won't be a covered stadium, but we're looking at it at least. I mean, the complex itself, parking and everything, 30,000-seat stadium. Jackson State averages over 40,000 fans per game, which is almost, I think, from time to time, number one in FCS. So I think it'll be great for the city of Jackson, great for the Jackson State, and even greater for the state of Mississippi.
If that made its way to the governor's desk and he signed it, probably looking at 4 or 5 years before they could play the first game there?
Yeah, that probably would be a reasonable estimation, yes. But look, it's like anything else. It's just great economic development, great opportunity for students, and a great look for the state of Mississippi.
Let's talk about the personal income tax. The the lieutenant governor was on a few moments ago, and doesn't look like the House and Senate is going to come together on this thing. To me, and I know everybody wants it to happen, but they seem to be on the remaining bills. Other than I do appreciate his response on Centene and that contract. But on the other two issues of the Wildlife Trust Fund and also for personal income tax, it seems to be a very, very wide chasm between the two.
It does, Paul, and we're just past halfway through the session. Look, I've been here long enough to know, it doesn't look like there'll be an agreement, but there's something that makes me believe that there can be. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna take some time to talk to Lieutenant Governor to get more details about his plan. The plan that the House offered, I think, is much better than one we offered last year, and it's one that a majority of my members voted for. I think it does a good job. It takes into account inflation. It provides, people call it a tax swap, but I think we're taxing people who hadn't been taxed and taking the burden off of working people. And when you look at what you save in grocery tax and car tax, I think it's a good thing. Now, the Senate plan, what I've seen of it, does some of those things as well, and I think that it is a more conservative plan, a plan that conservative in the sense that it doesn't move as fast and it's not as abrupt. So I think there's a lot of room to talk, and I think both sides are sincere in their interest in getting something done.
Well, if you're worried about that, and I am, and it's one of the reasons I've mentioned this, that we need to do this, but we need to do it if it's fiscally responsible.
Yes.
It doesn't put us in jeopardy. And I think everybody's on line with that.
Yes.
And the reason I think the House plan is good is because, and all the checks and balances that the House did, with the economists, with the people they've talked to, and the projections that they've had, and you guys in the House have been doing this for a while now.
Yes.
Not for 2 or 3 weeks or 6 months.
Yes.
You've put this together and had a chance to go back and change some things when there were some questions. But the House plan is really not that expedient to the point where it really takes 12 years to come to full fruition, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, it's laid out in a way.
Not like overnight.
No, it's not overnight, and the adjustments that I mean, it's progressive. And they understand that, and I think the chairman of Ways and Means and the speaker have spent a lot of time. Look, they backed up, listened to the criticism when they introduced the plan last year, went and made some changes, made some corrections. They are listening to the experts and listening to people who are in business and individuals, and coming up with something that is workable. So I like that part of it.
Well, in the Senate, as my understanding is, it goes for, a couple of years, 3 years, and then that's it, and then they come back and make a decision whether they want to continue.
Well, that's what I mean about it being
checks and balances.
Yeah, they do. And look, I think this is a perfect way that we can see this is how the legislature should work. Yep. It shouldn't be a plan here and just rubber stamp it. I think it's healthy for us to go back and forth, and we're going to come up with a plan that works and a plan that's good for everybody. And I think it's a good chance we'll get that done before the session is over.
Robert, you and I have known each other for a long time, and I tell you, man, I sit here and tear my heart out. I read some of these stories. A kid in Macomb, 6 years old, park, Sunday afternoon. Want to go out and play a little bit, Mom? Let me go out and play at the park. 5 o'clock, shot, killed. Doesn't come back home. Macomb, Jackson, all over the place. Has our legislature put enough time and effort and I'm not sure what they can do, but in solving this crime situation in our state? I want to address that with you when we come back. Robert Johnson in the studio, the third, by the way. We talked about crime. What are we going to do about it? Is there anything the legislature can do? I had the gentleman on from U.S. Attorney and the FBI last week, and we were talking about, the VGRIP, which is a plan they're putting together for the central part of the state and elsewhere. You speak to that. Are you concerned about it? Is there something the legislature can do to at least help out or kick this up a notch?
Paul, I've said for years, not just now, that we don't put enough money into law enforcement. And I know people, every time we got a problem, we say money. But when you consider that law enforcement officers are some of the lowest paid public servants that we have, that we minimalize the training that they get, and we don't hire enough of them. I mean, that's just what we do immediately. But we have cultural and social issues that we need to address. That I think that if you localize certain issues, where you try to find focus on the hot spots where people are creating these crimes and where things are happening. Look at those communities and go in there and see some of the things you need to do. But one of the first things you can do is put more law enforcement on the street right there where you can see.
Well, because it's a generational problem. It's going to take a generation to solve, but
Yeah.
I don't see us being on track doing that.
No,
I just
we're
see
not.
it spinning out of control.
No, we're not. I do believe, and then some people in my party may disagree with me, but I think it starts with more and better law enforcement. Better, not that anything is wrong with what we have, but they need more training, more support, and more help. And we do that first. But the other thing we got to do is what is this happening? I don't think the leadership, and myself included, understand how much social media and the media itself that people have access to more so than they did before, and the influence it has on them, and that we need to look at that root problem, see what we can do to sort of manage that. We have to look at an entire program and see what we can do.
Regardless of ethnicity, we are all Mississippians. And I think there are some people who are really skittish about even mentioning that a vast number of this, a large number of these atrocities that are being committed are by teenage African Americans in the state. Is that a racist statement?
No, I mean, look, there's a large number, but I think it's a little bit of. It would be disingenuous to say it doesn't happen. I don't think it gets reported as much.
I didn't say that.
No, larger, but a lot of them are happening with, teenage white Mississippians as well, more so than we know. That's what I mean. I think the problem is a youth problem, and it's a problem that crosses racial and community lines, and I think it's born on this internet that people are trading stories, seeing things happen, glamorizing violence in a way that we've never seen it before. And I think it goes. It's not just in the black community. If you go to it depends on who you talk to in Madison and Rankin County. You can find that they have more than their share of these same things.
I didn't say it was totally.
And I know, and that's not what you said, and I understand that. But I'm just saying,
I'm talking about these crimes that are taking people's lives in drive-by shootings and gangs. I understand drugs, and you can pick a different kind of drug, and it leads more to a different ethnicity. I understand all that.
Look,
I'm talking about just people being buried.
Look, when you look at communities, I'll give you a perfect example. Why is it in Hinds County they don't have but 1 or 2 football stadiums for like 8 high schools? Why are there programs that are limited that kids can get involved in and they could find some interest in? The things that you need to do that's what I mean. It's a system problem with education and communities and things we ought to be focusing on.
Why don't you guys focus on that? First of all, as a Black Caucus.
No, we do. We talk about it. We don't We don't control the budget. Look, we do not control the budget in the state of Mississippi.
But in all due respect, let me
finish. You just called out the Black Caucus. Let me say, we've been saying this is the capital city. The state needs to take a concerted effort and put money into this capital city. And I don't even care if it's a takeover, but it's our city, the state's city. And let's see what we can do to help and curb this crime and improve these communities. We can do that, but nobody's listening. We've asked for that. We proposed it. We've got a budget for it, and nobody wants to do it.
My friend, you've had your speak here.
Okay.
And the only reason I said this, and the reason I brought the Black Caucus into this, is that the majority of these cities that are having problems, a higher crime rate, are controlled from the mayor to the Board of Aldermen, to the police department chief, the Board of Supervisors in many of these places in the state are controlled now and have been controlled for decades in the responsibility of African Americans. When you say Jackson doesn't have this and that, then are you specifically targeting a ethnicity or just politicians as a whole?
Now, Paul, you want to point out that these cities are you suggesting that we need white leadership? Is that what we need? Let me
I
tell you
didn't
what.
say that.
That's what you said. Now let me tell you what you need. You need to stop. I'll tell you what the state needs to stop doing. And all these communities are led by black mayors and black city council people. Mm-hmm. These are the same cities that they've sucked the life and the economic support out of all those cities. They didn't run them out. They just ran out. And right now, if you do economic development in the state of Mississippi, nobody looks west of I-55. Nobody looks in southwest Mississippi where those cities are led, or in Jackson. You build right here in this metropolitan area. You build all around Jackson. We move agency headquarters out in Rankin County. Everything that you need to make a city work, every economic or tax base that you need. This leadership in this state, not just Republicans, but white leadership takes that money and puts it everywhere but where it's needed, and it's always where black people don't live. So, look, I don't know anybody who has a firm tax base, who has a number of great jobs where they have crime in their community. But if you take everything that makes a community work out of it, then that community is going to crumble. And and then all of a sudden, that's black leadership, and that's why it doesn't work. No, no leadership can work without economic and governmental support, and everybody else has it other than those cities you talk about. Those cities cannot exist. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And I've been here long enough to see, we talk about it every day. Why is it that when they do economic development or build roads in the state of Mississippi, they don't ever build them anywhere where our folks need them or where people live? They just don't. They do it in DeSoto County, they do it in Madison County, they do it in Rankin County, all over the coast, everywhere. And then you turn around and blame the victim. But we'll make it.
Perfect example.
We've been 200. Look, we can't. Look, look.
Perfect example.
We just
I point
keep
out
doing it.
That first of all, when money comes in, the color is green. And they look at crime, they look at education, they look at medical facilities, they look at a lot of different things.
What
they
comes
look
first?
At the leadership.
What comes first? What comes first?
The chicken or the egg?
Yeah, which one comes first? How can you have? How can you say they look at all these things and there's been no economic or governmental support for these things? We've been saying for years.
My original point of this was saying, look, wouldn't it be great if the Black Caucus would get together and say to the cities that are having problems and that they are under the control of African American leadership, come together and say, can we work this way to find out how we can have systemic changes, generational changes?
It won't work because we don't control the purse strings of this state. Every
I didn't
problem.
Say the purse strings.
No. You want
I
us
said
to,
leadership.
Look, leadership are ideas. You can have ideas, but if you don't have the money to implement those ideas, it's a waste of time. You want the Black Caucus to come together. You want the Black Caucus to come together and talk to leadership. And you just had the lieutenant governor in here who's holding on to every dime we need to fix these problems and won't turn it loose.
Excuse me for caring. Always a good.
I know you care. That's why I love talking to you, Paul.
Well, I just said I'm trying to search, and I don't want to be the one of those who says I'm not going to bring up things that may cause some tempers to flare. And I know that.
That's why we have a good back and forth. I learned from you, and I hope you learn from me.
We only got a couple of seconds here, and I have to ditch out and go to put more money in the medical situation. But before I let you go, is there any other things that are on your mind? We have a couple of minutes here.
Yeah, Paul, it's on my mind that there are people in hospital beds, in hallways in our hospitals. They're overcrowded, they're understaffed, and again, I keep saying, why in a state that has the lowest doctor-patient per capita ratio, we won't help our hospitals stay open and do the work they need to do. People need them. Let's do what we need to do.
Would you suggest the Senate do something with the hospital association?
Absolutely. No, they can work that out. I don't know the details of doing away with Centene, but they certainly need to sit down and talk to hospitals and see how we can help them.
I got you.
Yeah,
Robert, always good talking to you, sir.
Appreciate it.